Hey everybody, and welcome to Leia's Lair. Today's video is our entire series about all the different lightsaber hilts and variations in canon. We hope you enjoy. The Standard Hilt Lightsaber was the most common variation of lightsaber. They would typically be 26 centimeters in length, made of a typically metallic material, and would contain one or more kyber crystals. The components of all lightsabers would draw power from an appropriately sized power cell. Parts that would work to make a lightsaber include modulation circuits and an energy gate. Ones that were necessary include a blade emitter shroud, the emitter matrix, and some type of activator to turn the weapon on and off. Other parts that could be added include hand grip ridges and a blade length adjuster. Some lightsabers also featured a non-lethal low power setting used for training. Single-bladed lightsabers usually had a belt ring so they could be hung from a belt hook or a wheel-shaped attachment that slotted into a matching belt clip on the owner's belt when not in use. During lightsaber assembly, it was important to not accidentally invert the emitter matrix, as activating the lightsaber's power grid would backfire. At best, this could cause the blade to quickly short out, but if it was left on, the faulty weapon could violently explode. The first time we see the Standard Hilt Lightsaber in canon was in Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Some notable users of this lightsaber include Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, Qui-Gon Jinn, and Mace Windu. The Sith Lightsaber, also known as the Sith Saber, were lightsabers wielded by members of the Sith. They were constructed through methods similar to those used by other Force sensitives, but the underlying philosophy was different. Unlike the Jedi, who followed the light side of the Force, the Sith could not establish a mutual bond with kyber crystals. This was due to the hate, fear, and other emotions associated with the dark side that clouded their concentration. In the construction of a Sith lightsaber, individuals would do a process known as bleeding. By ways of the Force, they would pour negative emotions such as rage, hate, fear, and pain into kyber crystals. The process would result in the crystals gaining a distinctive crimson or red hue. Any kyber crystal could be bled for use in a Sith's lightsaber. However, some Sith believe that the proper method to gain a crystal involved capturing one from a Jedi's lightsaber. The materials, length, and shape in which Sith lightsaber hilts were composed of varied. Darth Sidious's lightsabers had nearly indestructible frick with a flat erodium blade emitter and were finished with electrum, as he had discerning tastes. The two hilts each had a length of 19 centimeters. Darth Vader's lightsaber was made out of alloy metal and carbon composite with a hilt length of 28 centimeters. They could be composed of various designs, such as standard, dual-phase, double-bladed, curved, or crossguard hilts. The first time we see the Sith lightsaber in canon was in Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Notable users of this lightsaber include Darth Vader, Darth Sidious, Darth Maul, Darth Tyrannus, and Kylo Ren. The dual-phase lightsaber was a lightsaber that contained two or more kyber crystals, allowing its blade length to be extended or shortened. Considered antiquated by the time of the Clone Wars, the dual-phase lightsaber was an artifact of an older, more violent time. They contained a series of secondary focusing crystals that, when used, could catch an opponent off guard. This type of weapon allowed a wielder to rotate the crystals into a new alignment with the push of a button to change the length of the lightsaber's blade. This generally caused an opponent's guard to falter momentarily as they adjusted to the new blade length, allowing the wielder to press the advantage while their opponent was confused. The first time we see the dual-phase lightsaber in canon was in Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Notable users of this lightsaber include Darth Vader. The Curved-Hilt Lightsaber was a lightsaber variant that was utilized by both the Jedi and the Sith. The curved hilt was elegant in design and would allow the wielder to slash and lunge at their opponent with greater precision. Darth Tyrannus favored the second form of lightsaber combat and famously wielded a red-bladed curved-hilt lightsaber throughout the Clone Wars. Asajj Ventress, his assassin apprentice, took after him by wielding two curved-hilt lightsabers that could be joined together to form a double-bladed lightsaber. Though initially trained as a Jedi Padawan, Ventress switched her green-bladed Standard Hilt lightsabers for her red-bladed curved-hilt lightsabers. During this time, Jedi Barriss Offee took possession of these lightsabers and was forced to use them against Anakin Skywalker and reveal herself as the culprit responsible for framing Ahsoka. The first time we see the Curved-Hilt Lightsaber in canon was in Attack of the Clones, when Count Dooku fights Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker. Behind the scenes, Oppo Rancisis was also supposed to use a Curved-Hilt Lightsaber in the Clone Wars TV series. Notable users of this lightsaber include Count Dooku, Asajj Ventress, Ahsoka Tano, and Kirak Infila. The Crossguard Lightsaber was an ancient lightsaber design that was once common among Makashi practitioners. It typically emitted 3 blades, a primary blade, and 2 raw power vents known as Keons. The Keons were tributaries of the main blade, and emitter shrouds were used on each of the lateral vents to protect the wielder's hands from harm. To create the Keons, an array of focusing crystal activators were used to split the energy from the lightsaber crystal. Darth Atreus owned a pair of Crossguard lightsabers during a time when the Sith were plentiful and powerful. During the Galactic Civil War, Ezra Bridger found an ancient green-bladed Crossguard lightsaber on Malachor. When he picked it up and activated it, it almost immediately broke and deactivated itself. Kylo Ren later built his own Crossguard blade, which was unstable due to the usage of a cracked kyber crystal. At the end of his time as Kylo Ren, he flung his weapon into the sea on the planet of Kefbir as a sign of renunciation of his commitment to the dark side of the Force. The first time we see the Crossguard lightsaber in canon was in The Force Awakens with Kylo Ren's lightsaber. However, the concept of a Crossguard lightsaber was first introduced in Star Wars Legends, and it had 2 beams rather than 3 in the 2004 comic book Republic 61 Dead Ends. Notable users of this lightsaber include Kylo Ren. The Shoto Lightsaber was a scaled lightsaber in which the blade was considerably shorter than normal. They were typically used by those whose stature made it impractical to wield a full-scale lightsaber, and also as an offhand weapon for duelists who employed twin-bladed techniques. For example, Jedi Grandmaster Yoda built his lightsaber as a Shoto due to his diminutive size. At some point prior to the mission to Mortis, Jedi Padawan Ahsoka Tano adopted the practice of Jarkai and constructed a Shoto lightsaber. The weapon was essentially an abridged version of her original lightsaber and mimicked the saber's basic aesthetic, except for the shorter blade which possessed a greenish-yellow tinge. This Shoto would go on to serve Ahsoka throughout the Clone Wars until she left the Jedi Order. Anakin returned Ahsoka's weapons to her when she agreed to lead the Siege of Mandalore, although he substituted the crystal inside for blue ones. However, she would abandon her pair of lightsabers after the execution of Order 66 in order to fake her death. The Imperial Inquisitor, known as the 10th Brother, formerly Jedi Master Proset Dibs, wielded a pair of Shotos in contrast to the double-bladed spinning lightsaber used by the rest of the Inquisitorius. The first time we see the Shoto lightsaber in canon was in Attack of the Clones with Yoda's lightsaber. Notable users of this lightsaber include Yoda, Ahsoka Tano, and the 10th Brother. The training lightsaber, also known as the youngling lightsaber or training blade, was a type of lightsaber that was implemented for lightsaber practice. Training lightsabers of various kinds were often used by Jedi younglings before they underwent the gathering and built a weapon of their own. Training lightsabers had limited power and thus limited danger. It could also be possible for normal lightsabers to be tuned down so they could be used in this fashion. Low power could not sever limbs or pierce flesh, however skin contact was painful, producing burns which could cause serious welts and bruises. The first time we see the training lightsaber in canon was in Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. The cane lightsaber, also known as the cane disguised lightsaber or saber cane, was any lightsaber with a hilt disguised as the handle of a cane. The primary purpose of the cane lightsaber was to act as a concealed weapon and a convenient place to hide a lightsaber, as it would always be in your hands. Elderly Jedi Tara Sinube used this weapon during the Clone Wars and would also make use of the shaft of the cane as a secondary weapon. We also witnessed Darth Maul using a cane-disguised lightsaber during the reign of the Galactic Empire in the Star Wars Rebels series. The first time we see the cane lightsaber in canon, although not ignited, was in Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 2, Episode 9, Grievous Intrigue. We first see it ignited 2 episodes later in Season 2, Episode 11, Lightsaber Lost. Notable users of this lightsaber include Tara Sinube and Darth Maul. The Lightsaber Pistol was a type of lightsaber hilt that was equipped with a blaster. It could operate in 2 distinct modes, lightsaber mode and blaster mode. During the Imperial era, one of these lightsabers was constructed by Ezra Bridger. While the Jedi Order generally had no use for blasters, Force users during the reign of the Galactic Empire often needed to conceal their relationship with the Force and could not rely on using their lightsabers openly. Through customization, a second emitter could be added to the hilt that would release the weapon's energy as a projectile, similar to a blaster bolt. Since the energy release was not encased within the focusing field that shaped the blade of the lightsaber, the bolts fired from the pistol hilt weakened rapidly as its coherence declined. These short-range stun bolts caused some shock, but were not as effective as a blaster or lightsaber blade. The first time we see the Lightsaber Pistol in canon is in Star Wars Rebels Season 1, Episode 10, Path of the Jedi with Ezra Bridger's lightsaber. Notable users of this lightsaber include Ezra Bridger. The double-bladed lightsaber, also commonly called a saber staff or light staff, was a lightsaber variant that featured a blade emitted from both ends. The existence of double-bladed lightsabers dated back to the mythical Sith Lord Exar Kun. Darth Maul and also his brother Savage Opress both wielded red double-bladed lightsabers. Count Dooku's assassin apprentice, Asajj Ventress, had a pair of curved-hilt lightsabers that could be joined together at the hilt into a single weapon by a locking mechanism to become a double-bladed lightsaber. This configuration would be known as a split-saber, one that was also wielded by Jedi Cal Kestis. Other Jedi would also use double-bladed lightsabers, such as Pong Krell, who wielded dual-hinged double-bladed lightsabers, one blue and one green. Rey also has a vision of herself as a Sith, using a hinged double-bladed lightsaber. We have also seen variations of the double-bladed lightsaber, such as the Jedi Temple Guard yellow double-bladed lightsaber pikes and the red double-bladed spinning lightsaber used by the Imperial Inquisitors. The first time we see the double-bladed lightsaber in canon was in The Phantom Menace, when Darth Maul fights Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi. While during the development of The Force Awakens, they toyed with the idea of having a character wield a double-bladed lightsaber with one blade of red and the other blue, creating a sort of fire and ice motive that could also show the contrast between the light side and the dark side. Notable users of this lightsaber include Maul, Asajj Ventress, Savage Opress, Pong Krell, Jaro Tapal, and Cal Kestis. The Lightsaber Pike was a type of Lightsaber Hilt variant similar to the double-bladed lightsaber. Some lightsaber pikes had a haft that, when activated, emitted a Shoto blade that made it 2 to 3 meters long. Some also came in a hinged version as well. Lightsaber pikes were used by the Jedi Temple Guards, who were the Knights of the Jedi Order, who were sworn to protect the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. Their pikes would feature 2 rare yellow plasma blades on each side of the staff. During the Clone Wars, we see the Temple Guards ignite them to keep Anakin Skywalker restrained after the Council's decision for Ahsoka's trial. Later, we see them again to isolate a duel between Anakin and Barriss Offee. Kanan Jarrus also experienced a Force vision where he saw a lightsaber pike on a wall rack containing various lightsabers. Behind the scenes of the Clone Wars, the lightsaber pikes carried by the Jedi Temple Guards were originally to have green blades. However, they later became yellow, making them the first lightsabers to canonically have a yellow blade. A single-bladed lightsaber pike, dubbed the Sith Lightsaber Pike, was designed for use by Darth Bane in the Clone Wars Season 6, Episode 13, Sacrifice. However, the weapon did not appear in the episode's final cut. The first time we see the lightsaber pike in canon was in Star Wars The Clone Wars, Season 5, Episode 20, The Wrong Jedi. Notable users of this lightsaber include all the Jedi Temple Guards, such as the Grand Inquisitor. The hinged double-bladed lightsaber was a type of double-bladed lightsaber hilt. The hinged hilt could be folded in half, making it easier to stow while not in use. Essentially a pair of single-bladed lightsabers with their pommels conjoined by a series of hinges, the user was still able to activate one or both blades while the weapon was folded. Hinged double-bladed lightsabers had a history with the Jedi Order. Some members of the Jedi Temple Guard incorporated a hinge to their lightsaber pikes. During the Clone Wars, Jedi General Pong Krell's four-armed basilisk anatomy allowed him to wield a pair of hinged double-bladed sabers, one with blue blades and the other with green. In 35 ABY, while searching for the Wayfinder on Kef Bir, Rey fought a vision of herself as a Sith. In the vision, her dark side counterpart wielded a hinged double-bladed lightsaber with red blades. The first time we see the hinged double-bladed lightsaber in canon was in Star Wars The Clone Wars, Season 4, Episode 7, Darkness on Umbara. Notable users of this lightsaber include Pong Krell and Orla Jareni. The Split-saber was a type of double-bladed lightsaber that could be split into two separate lightsabers. The lightsabers could interlock their hilts together and would usually appear as identical lightsabers. During the High Republic era, Jedi Keeve Trennis owned a double-bladed lightsaber that she could split into component single blades for storage while not fighting. Asajj Ventress owned a pair of Curved-Hilt Lightsabers that she could attach together at the hilt. However, she rarely wielded her weapons in this fashion, doing so only briefly during the Battle of Teth. The Imperial Inquisitor's sixth brother's double-bladed Spinning Lightsaber could also be split into two blades. During the Imperial era, Jedi Cal Kestis wielded a split-saber during his quest to try and rebuild the Jedi Order. The first time we see the split-saber in canon was in Star Wars The Clone Wars film. Notable users of this lightsaber include Asajj Ventress, the sixth brother, Cal Kestis, and Keeve Trennis. The double-bladed Spinning Lightsaber, also known as the Inquisitor Lightsaber, was a specially designed lightsaber model used by the Inquisitorius, a group of dark-side adepts who enforced the will of the Galactic Empire. It was capable of emitting both single and double blades. The lightsaber's overall design hardly made it any bigger than a single hilt lightsaber, which was quite different compared to the design of a dual-blade weapon, such as the one used by Darth Maul. Another unique feature of this weapon is that the blade emitters could spin along a track in the disc while the hilt would remain stationary in relation, allowing for more emphasis on attack while maintaining a better degree of control over the weapon. The lightsaber could also be used to fly, spinning in a propeller-like motion strong enough to lift the wielder off the ground, and could be used as a means to escape. Some versions of the lightsaber also contained a rotating wheel of sharp razor blades, which could intimidate an enemy or be used as an alternate way of slicing through opponents. However, despite all the cool features, the double-bladed spinning lightsaber suffered from a number of design flaws. If given the opening, an opponent could cut through the disc from the inside or outside of the ring, causing the weapon to fly apart if spinning. The ring emitter also presented a large target for a disarming move, and should the emitter be damaged, it would affect the lightsaber's ability to function properly. The first time we see the double-bladed spinning lightsaber in canon was in the two-part animated movie Star Wars Rebels: Spark of the Rebellion. Notable users of this lightsaber include the Grand Inquisitor, the 8th brother, the 5th brother, the 2nd sister, the 7th sister, the 6th brother, and the 9th sister. We will now go over some specialized lightsaber variations in canon that do not have a lot of information on them. The Proto-saber was a type of ancient prototype lightsaber. It functioned differently from a standard lightsaber in that instead of emitting a plasma blade, it featured two physical prongs, which rose up from a crossguard. When activated, energy would surge up the prongs and form into a blade. The Broadsaber was a variation of lightsaber that, due to specialized focusing lenses and emitters, would make a blade that was broader and flatter than a standard lightsaber cylindrical blade. The Broadsaber provided a larger overall surface for the blade while losing the advantages of an omnidirectional cutting edge. The Great Lightsaber was a type of oversized lightsaber built for use by large individuals. They were often heavy and difficult to use, reinforced with heavy-duty power and emitter systems, making the blade longer than 2 meters in length. The Guard Shoto, also called the Lightsaber Tonfa, was a lightsaber variation of hilt set at a 90-degree angle to the blade. This would allow the wielder to quickly change from attack to defense. Lightfoils were a type of small lightsaber that was designed for one-handed combat and generated a slim plasma blade. Lightwhips were a heavily modified lightsaber variant with multiple plasma blades in flexible containment shields. Due to the blade's flexibility, they would require more care than a regular lightsaber and had less cutting power. Electro-whips, a similar-looking but non-lethal weapon with a retractable electrified cable, were sometimes called by the same name. The Sickle-bladed Lightsaber was a specialized variant of lightsaber which featured a curved blade. This design was known to be used by Darth Noctis. Interested in learning about which lightsaber you would have? Check out one of our many quizzes here. And there you have it. Thanks for watching, everyone. Which is your favorite lightsaber hilt? Let us know down below in the comment section. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more great videos to come. We hope to see you all again in Leia's Lair.
You are not a Jedi yet.